It is indeed an honor and a privilege to rise in the House this evening and contribute to the debate on Bill C-316, an act to amend the Department of Canadian Heritage Act Court Challenges program. Indeed, as already has been mentioned in this House, this program has an off-and-on history in this place and in government through the Department of Canadian Heritage. And indeed, I did have the honor and privilege of serving for some time on the Standing Committee on Canadian Heritage. But before I get into the meat of my speech, I do want to reflect on one of the more famous quotations from one of the great parliamentarians of this place and one of the great defenders and protectors of Canadian freedom, the Right Honourable John Diefenbaker. And Diefenbaker had that famous saying that Parliament is more than procedure. It is the custodian of the nation's freedoms. And I think too often in this place, we forget about our role as the protector and the defenders of the freedoms of Canadians. And indeed, if we look back at the history of some of the great orators, some of the great defenders in this place, including Diefenbaker and his Bill of Rights, the first attempt at enshrining the rights and freedoms of Canadians in a single federal statute, that was it. It was Diefenbaker. From his humble upbringing, his birth in Neustadt, Ontario, just north of my riding of Perth Wellington, to his time as a defender, as a defense counsel, and his time as parliamentarian, his focus was on the rights and freedoms of Canadians. And that was what he lived for. That was what he lived for in this place. We will recall that it was under Diefenbaker that the first woman was appointed to cabinet. It was under Diefenbaker that Indigenous peoples in all corners of this country finally had the right to vote. And it was through Diefenbaker's Bill of Rights that we saw the first written efforts at enshrining the rights and freedoms of Canadians. Now, that history and that protection of rights and freedoms continues under other Conservative leaders as well, and we need to be proud of these efforts. And indeed, under the leadership of Prime Minister Mulroney, Foreign Minister Joe Clark, we saw the strong stand that Prime Minister Mulroney and Minister Clark took in defending us on the world stage and calling out the apartheid regime in South Africa. We saw the efforts that they led in the Commonwealth to make that happen, and we saw the work that they undertook here at home in Canada when it came to the defense of Canadian rights and freedoms. Indeed, their efforts through the two constitutional courts that did in fact fail, but nonetheless had that effort to enshrine those and ensure that all members in this country signed on